I am a firm believer in quotas.
Yep.
And I think a 40-40-20 quota system, in other words, 40% women, 40% men, 20% either,
Yep.
is something that should be applied to senior management roles, to fellowship appointments, to all sorts of programs and funding for research that people work to those targets. Because I think otherwise it's things aren't going to really change. And I think we can just do a lot better in recognising our biases, but also the quota with that 20% flexibility, and 40% men, 40% women. So you've already committed to equality, and then however the cards fall on the 20%, then I think that no one can argue with that.
I'm a believer in quotas. I sort of think, yes, I know people say, oh, no, you can't sort of impose that. And I think, well, there's been a de facto quota for men, which is more or less in most prestigious things, it's been 100% for men. And I think the pace of change has been so slow. The idea that there'll be natural change. You just look at, say, the legal profession. Over 50% of law students have been women for the past over 30 years. But we don't see that. That's not echoed in the judiciary. It's not echoed in partnership in law firms. It's not echoed in any of the really prestigious sort of leadership points. So I think, well, unless we do something strong like that, I don't think there'll be a change.
I think it's really important to think not just about the numbers of women, but the quality of women.
Yep.
And by that I mean I'm really committed to sort of models of academic work that are less masculinist and aggressive. So I don't like to see women, attaining situations of power and really using that power in ways that can be sort of punitive. I've seen incredibly stellar senior women really sort of pushed out of this place by very punitive regimes of order culture. And, these things can involve bullying and harassment. And I don't think that it's impossible that women can bully and harass other women. So I think that it's really important that we look not just to getting women in the best positions. And this university has done very well, I think, at the higher levels of Deputy Vice-Chancellor and so forth. But I think that it's also important that we cultivate an ethos amongst both men and women that we are not going to sort of, we all obviously expect each other to perform well, but as part of that, I think that well-being and happiness is actually also really important in academic productivity.
One thing that happens a lot, and this is a cultural thing, is that women often don't get the recognition that they deserve for the work they're doing. So in particular, this is prizes and awards, and things like membership of various academies and invitations to conferences. It can even be things like getting referee reports to papers. There's subconscious bias, and it's in everything. It's in every field, and it's anytime someone has to make a judgment, the bias will be against women and minorities, even if it's the women doing the judging. For example, I went on an aeroplane recently on Qantas, and the man in front of me boarded, and the person at the counter said, "Oh, welcome on board, Professor so-and-so." My boarding pass says Professor as well. So I hand it to her, and she says, "Welcome aboard, Ms. Kewley." She'd looked at me and decided I didn't have a title, and so therefore didn't look at my boarding pass to use a title for me. And so this is just one example, but this happens all the time in society, where the woman is not given credit or not considered like she should be getting this sort of thing. And it's a real problem. I think as a society it needs to change. In the centre, we have a goal by year 3, we want to have 50% women at all levels. It's really ambitious. I think we can do it because we're in control of who becomes, at all is chief investigators or principal investigators at all levels. Also, we are only supporting or running conferences with 50-50 women in everything, and that includes the scientific organising committee, invited speakers, contributor speakers, attendees, review talks, everything. And when we're nominating people for awards, has to be 50-50.
Yeah.
Jobs have to have 50-50 on the shortlist.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they've got to go back. And
fantastic.
it's just this, we're being really hard line about it.
And do you experience any evidence of a sort of backlash against that?
There is a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you handle
They
that?
have to get over it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.